For our final presentation, we have Dr. Herb Tannenbaum, as a board-certified internist and cardiologist, served as a governor for the American College of Cardiology. He established the cardiac lab at the Washington Hospital Center and the cardiac rehab program at the Jewish Community Center. Longtime Beth member. You heard about his wife Elaine. May her memory be for a blessing. We had the first Aliyah of a woman here. He wrote to me, I have a 15-page CV, but God forbid you will need it for my eulogy. Okay. Not anytime soon. The last speaker, Herb Tannenbaum.
First of all, I certainly appreciate the opportunity to represent one of my favorite foods, namely the potato latke. I'm going to present a case for the latke briefly from 5 viewpoints. First, scientific, medical, historic, economic, and finally religious. Now, for those of you who were privileged 4 years ago to have heard Dr. Donna Vogel present for the first time in history the molecular structure of the potato latke, I'm here to announce that her work is now being considered for a Nobel Prize. Now, since then, science has marched on. At NIH and also at the Weizmann Institute in Israel, they have participated in studying the human genome. They are able to sequence the DNA of the human being. In addition to this, they now can sequence the DNA of foodstuffs. This includes the potato latke and the Hamentashen. Now, coincidentally with this scientific work, there was an archaeological dig in Israel near Ramallah into the caves of the Machpelah. And you know that's where our patriarchs and matriarchs are buried. Abraham, Sarah, Jacob, these are our ancestors. And they took some of the material from these grave sites and they analyzed the DNA sequence. And it's an amazing discovery. The DNA from our patriarchs and matriarchs resembles exactly the potato latke DNA. It has no resemblance at all to the Hamentashen. All right, let's get into medical aspects. The potato latke has had some fair publicity, and most of it is related to the oil. They think the oil that we fry up the potato latke is harmful to you. Well, that's not 100% true. You can use unsaturated oils. An example of it would be canola oil. Canola oils are unsaturated. They're loaded with omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, and these are very healthy to the cardiovascular system.
Is this a paid commercial?
Anyway, there is one oil that's never been mentioned, and this is very near and dear to the Jewish heart and soul, and that is chicken schmaltz. Now, you can fry up, and by the way, chicken schmaltz is also relatively unsaturated. Chicken schmaltz has no relation to the animal fats, which are potentially harmful. Just think of it. You can fry up a potato latke in chicken schmaltz, add some onions, and add some grivina, and it's got to be the most delicious thing in the world. Now, for those of you who don't know what grivina is, you can ask your bubby or ask some of the older members of the synagogue, and it's what's left over. They're crisp pieces of skin that are left over after you render the chicken schmaltz. Can you imagine? They're the most delicious thing in the world. If McDonald's would be able to sell them, they would call them Grivina McNuggets. And McDonald's would make a fortune. Now, one of the problems that we're facing in the near future from a medical point of view is the problem of poor physical activity, the problem of obesity, problem of diabetes. And all of these things will contribute to an outbreak of coronary artery and heart disease. So we should pay attention to each of them. Now think, with that background, think for a moment. What are our children and grandchildren doing around Purim in the spring when the Hamentashen is favorable? They're sitting on a couch. They're watching TV because of the onset of the baseball season. The only muscle that they're using are their fingers. In one hand, they have an iPhone, and they're constantly text messaging all their friends. On the other hand, they have the remote. God forbid they should get off the couch to even change the channel. And in the meantime, they're pigging out on high-calorie, sugar-loaded Hamentashen. Horrible. Now, at this time of the year, Hanukkah, and they're hearing about RG3 and the Redskins, yay, team. That motivates them to get outside, to toss around a football, and if there's snow on the ground, maybe you'll be lucky enough to get them to do some shoveling too. All healthy activities. All right, let's say a few words about historical factors. First of all, the word Hamentashen, in all due respect to the Chazan, is a misnomer. It's not Haman's hat. The word Taschen is a German word. It means your pocket. And this so-called delicacy was patterned after a German dessert where they took pockets of dough, filled them with fruit. And all of us know that anything related to Germany doesn't bring up very happy memories for the Jewish people. Let's go for another interesting thing in history that has been neglected. It is written in our Talmud that to save a life is as if to save the world. In 1845, the Republic of Ireland was hit by a horrible potato famine. This resulted in starvation of a lot of the Irish countrymen, and Marty Cephas here, our in-house historian, will corroborate this. As a result of it, a lot of the Irish population emigrated to the United States. Now, with the fall in the potato crop, the Irish people who were Jews were the first ones to recognize this upcoming tragedy. Why? Because they were fearful, how in the world are they going to make potato latkes with Hanukkah coming up? So the Jews spoke to their Irish compatriots and told them of the anxieties of the coming famine, and they were the first ones to emigrate out of Ireland. So indirectly, the potato latkes saved millions of lives. And to save one life is to save the world. All right, let's touch a little bit on economics. We have a lot of very successful businessmen in the audience, and they all will tell you that if you have a product that doesn't have to be changed, that stands on its own 2 feet, you really have a winner. Do you remember a few years ago Coca-Cola? Coca-Cola changed its recipe. They bottled it and it fell flat. Nobody ever bought it. So they had to go back and rebottle the original Coca-Cola. Remember they called it classic Coca-Cola. All right, take the potato latkes. Over centuries, years and years, as it was pointed out, you either eat a latke with sour cream or with applesauce. Now take the Hamentashen. They had to modify it. They had to keep improving it. This is some of the things they stuff them with. I'll just read some of them. Poppy seeds, prunes, apples, cherries, strawberries, peaches, apricots, pineapple, cream cheese, chocolate, and now even peanut butter. I predict in the future that the only way they're going to improve on their product is to stuff them with ground up potato latkes. All right, a few words from the religion. And for this we have to consult our Holy Torah, specifically the book of Genesis. There is no question in my mind that potato latkes existed in the Garden of Eden. The bracha for the potato latkes, borei peri hadama. Blessed is the fruit of the ground. And in fact, the word of the first man, Adam, is from Ha'adama. Now just think for one moment. If Eve had served her husband a potato latke instead of a Hamentashen stuffed with apples, we would still be in the Garden of Eden. I'd like to wrap up my discourse with a little poem. Actually, this poem was from Alice in Wonderland, and it was modified somewhat and presented at one of these debates. Now, I've taken the liberty to change around and change the verses and change some of the words so it would be more applicable to our discussion today and the present time. And what it consists of is a discussion between a young man who's a Hamentashen lover and an elderly gentleman. And this is how it goes. You are old, Tata Chaim, the young man said, and your beard has become very white. But I'd like to know why there's a gleam in your eye when a beautiful woman's in sight. When I was much younger, old Chaim replied, my wife fed me latkes and cream. This built my virility, postponed my senility, and my eyes are right on the beam. You're in your 80s, the young man explained, but your youth, you seem to renew it. You can sprint running dark without straining your heart. Why can't the rest of us do it? The reason is simple. The old man explained, and your weakness can soon be rescinded. But you nibble and notch on an old Hamentashen. No wonder you're short-winded. You're an alpaca, continued the youth. And your mind ought to lose all its vigor. But you play basketball in the summer and fall. What makes you so fast on the trigger? The reason is simple. Young little squirt. The answer is found in my diet. 3 times every day I eat latkes olay. Now why don't the rest of you try it?